Let's get into it. The 5 biggest mistakes in any operation involving an extruder. So I'm going to talk a little about the most common mistakes people make and, of course, how to avoid them. Because let's be honest, understanding where things go wrong is the first step to making your process more efficient, more consistent, and way less of a headache. Let's talk about mistake number 1, not training your operators. It usually takes time to fully train an operator, time for them to gain experience, make the right decisions, and truly understand what they need to do. But if we break this problem down, we see that it actually has 2 layers. First, you have operators who simply aren't trained well enough. They're put in front of the extruder with little to no guidance and end up relying on trial and error. This leads to small mistakes, which over time turn into bigger problems. More work, more waste, lower product quality. And then there's the second issue, training that isn't done the right way. Most of the time, new operators learn from existing ones. Seems logical, right? But here's the catch. Experienced operators don't just pass on their knowledge, they also pass on their mistakes. So instead of building a new generation of operators with solid concepts and the right skills, what you're actually doing is just copying and pasting the same habits, the good ones, and the bad ones. This is why poor training is the first major mistake on this list. It's the foundation of everything else. And if you want to fix this issue, here's what you can do. Click the link in the description. I have a full course on extrusion, covering everything from the moment raw materials arrive to the final product being shipped out. You'll get a complete breakdown of the entire process, along with problem-solving techniques to boost your production efficiency. All right, let's move on to problem number 2, not properly cooking the product in the conditioner. The conditioner is a key piece of equipment in the extrusion process. If you want extrusion to work the way it's supposed to, you have to condition your product correctly. But here's what happens way too often. Sometimes not enough steam is added. Other times, the product isn't gelatinized enough. And when that conditioning step isn't done properly, we try to compensate for it in the extruder. And that leads to low-quality products. If you want a high-quality final product, the conditioning process needs to be right. The material leaving the conditioner should have the right moisture, the right temperature, so that extrusion happens efficiently and correctly. Because if you nail the conditioning step, you're already halfway to a great final product. Problem number 3, not having clear quality standards. This is a huge issue in many factories. Quality standards for the product just aren't well defined. Maybe you don't know what bulk density you need to achieve in the extruder. Maybe you don't have a precise target for pellet size. And when there's no clear standard to follow, quality starts to fluctuate. One batch might be perfectly extruded, the next one, not so much. That's why it's critical to have well-established standards. But more than that, you also need a clear action plan for what to do when something falls outside the standard. For example, if the product density is off, what's the next step? Do you stop the extruder? Make an adjustment on the fly? It's not enough to just set targets. You need a strategy for what to do when things don't go as planned. That's the only way to ensure your product stays consistent, reliable, and high quality. Now, problem number 4, not having enough restriction inside your extruder. Here's the rule. Anything that restricts material flow inside the extruder increases expansion. Sounds like a complicated concept, right? But it's actually pretty simple. Think about it this way. If you have fewer holes in your die, if you're using a more aggressive screw profile, if anything inside the extruder makes it harder for the material to flow, what happens? You get more friction. More friction means more heat. More heat leads to higher expansion. So if your final product has poor quality, maybe it's too brittle, maybe the shape is off, there's a good chance it's not expanding properly. And the problem? Most people forget to check for this. They don't check if the extruder is properly maintained. They don't check if the die has enough restriction to create the expansion needed for a well-formed pellet. But these small details make a huge difference in your final product. And mistake number 5, maintenance issues. This one's huge. Way too often, factories just keep producing, and nobody stops to check on maintenance. And then, one day, everything starts going wrong. Your extruder is backflowing. Your product quality is dropping. You can't add the right amount of steam. And when you inject liquids, they just float instead of mixing properly. The result? A terrible product. So, what's the fix? Simple. Keep your extruder in good condition. Think of it like driving a car. If your brakes don't work, if you have warning lights all over the dashboard, you know it's only a matter of time before you break down. And in the worst case scenario, you crash. It's the same with your extruder. If you skip preventive maintenance, if you ignore warning signs, at some point the machine will fail. And when that happens, your entire production suffers. So keep up with maintenance, take care of your extruder. And in return, it'll take care of your product quality. Got it? Great. And that wraps up today's 5 biggest mistakes. If you want to dive deeper into the extrusion process, no matter what you're producing, whether it's pet food or aquafeed, here's what I recommend. Click the link in the description. That will take you straight to our website, where you'll find a complete online course on extrusion. And the best part, it's available anytime, anywhere. It doesn't matter if your operator is on the day shift, night shift, or even the third shift, they'll have full access to all the material. Inside the course, you'll find best practices, problem-solving techniques, and powerful tools to improve your production. And listen, the payback on this course is insanely fast. All it takes is one tip just, one improvement, and the course practically pays for itself. And trust me, we've packed this course with a ton of game-changing tips. So go check it out. And if you have any questions, reach out to us. Now, before you go, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and I'll see you in the next one.